Hey guys, Dr. Dennis here, and welcome to yet another deck guide, or deck showdown, or call it what you want. Today I've decided to bring you this Lesson deck that I've been using in my grind for the seasonal modes, and I think it's the best deck for you to grind the seasonal modes for the last moments of the season, because nobody expects your finisher and nobody expects hyper thin woodlands, and nobody tries to push woodlands, so it's much better than trying to get Monsart off with Eredin. Plus, the big advantage of this is you can use the Woodland Spirit anytime to take the round 1, at least in my opinion, so you get the guaranteed last say on the Monsart and the Monsart doesn't get removed, or when you get the last say naturally, meaning that you win the round 1 without the Woodland Spirit, you get extra 8 points on your last say, which makes your last say about 30 to maybe even 35 points with Petrus filter, and I think that's a bargain for what it costs you, because generally your deck is really strong against any matchups. Only tough matchup may be a long round against me or Calanthe, but you can prevent getting into long rounds, and I'm gonna talk more about how to prevent getting into the long rounds in the article that I'm making for this deck on the TR's webpage, and it's gonna be linked down in the description. And without further ado, let's get to this deck guide. So first of all, when you draw your cards, I'm talking bullshit. I'm not gonna talk about this, I'm gonna talk about your cards here and about the round progression and the article. So now that we have this sorted, let's start. We have the Caretaker. He is an obvious replay of the portal, so you can get out all the Ancient Foglets, Kikimor Warriors and the Necro Warriors. Maybe even the Foglets. You have a lot of 4-pointers, so don't worry about playing the portal without having the Foglets out of the board thinned out. The chance of getting both of the Foglets is really small compared to what you can get from the portal when you get the Kikimor Warrior and the Ancient Foglets. So that's it for the Caretaker. Maybe you can even use it on the Petrus filter, but it's very rarely needed because you thin very effectively to 6 to 2 cards, and you're basically not gonna need the Caretaker for the Petrus filter, and you usually play the portal twice, which is a lot of points with our bronzes. Now the portal is played in the first rounds and replayed usually as a first say in the second rounds if you don't have Pugov, obviously. The portal serves to get out the Kikimor Warriors and the other forts, but the best cards that you can get in the first rounds with the portal are obviously the Kikimor Warriors, because with Warriors you can make much more bronze much more bronze cards and cards in your graveyard, because the Kikimor Warriors create a copy of itself for each destroyed units you have. So for example, if you have 1 Foglet or 2 Foglets, let's say, in hand, and you get 2 Kikimor Warriors with the portal, you get to kill the Foglet becomes a 5-point boosted copy of itself, and you get another Kikimor Warrior with the Kikimor Warrior, and you have 2 of them, so it means 2 new cards in your graveyard per turn, and you can recycle the Kikimor Warriors with the Kikimor Warriors, so you don't have to kill your high point value cards, you can just kill the Kikimors over and over again. So that means you want to play a longer round 1. You generally with the Kikimors try to not do as big tempos so you get your opponent to stay in the rounds, but when needed, when you need to win the rounds, you just push for it with your cards that you have here. For example, the Crones or the Goliaths, maybe even Striga. This is it for the Kikimo Warriors and the Portal. It's a lot of points in the end game with the Monsard, so I encourage you to try to keep your Kikimo Warriors alive at all costs. Even maybe boost the second one with the Weaves so you get one more copy out of your deck. Not out of your deck, but one more copy in your graveyard. Then we have the Naglfar. The Naglfar obviously helps us find the cards that we need. And it can be, for example, Portal that we want to find with Naglfar. And maybe even Monsard, but you generally get Monsard in 95% of the cases in hand. You draw her naturally because you thin a lot. And the Naglfar just can help you fish for the cards that are stuck at the bottom of your deck, the gold ones, obviously. Then we have the Monsard. The Monsard is your last say or second last say, depending on the matchups. If you suspect that your opponent might be running Kambi or Pitfall Trap, you play the Monsard turn before that, so your Monsard doesn't get removed without even being played. But in usual matchups, you play the Petrus Filter first before the Monsard, and you play the Monsard as your last say, boosted by the Woodland Spirit for 30 to 35 points of value, which is kinda a killer in a short round. Then we have Goliaths. It's straight up points for your Tribe with Neckers, or you can just win with this card around when you need to make a 10-point play to catch up in round 1. You can clearly do that with the Goliaths. And what I like to do with Goliaths when I play against the Hyperthin deck that runs Tibor in it, and I just consume the Goliath with the Brewis, so I get out the Tibor and he loses 26 points on the Yennefer and Zartisius. Then we have the Brewis, Weaves and Wispis. Usually you try to get the full value by playing Brewis first, Weavis second and the Wispis as the third card. But in our case you can even play these two first and this as a one of the last cards in round 3 to get more bodies in the graveyard, depending on what you suspect your opponent is playing. If you suspect that your opponent is playing some resets or high card removals, just place Brewis as one of the first cards so you don't get screwed by the big value she can get, because she can easily with your deck get to 26 points in last rounds without you even knowing how. So be careful with her in those matchups. And these, as I said, you can use the Weaves to boost the Kikimo Warrior, and you can use the Wispis to remove some cards of your opponent. Another card, a removal, is our Ada Striga. Ada Striga is used as a high point removal in the early stages of the round. As one of our first plays is the Pugo Boombreaker or the Griffin, obviously in round 1. Pugo Boombreaker is played as one of the first cards, as said, with Ancient Foglit on board. So if you have Ancient Foglits and Portal and a Pugo in your hands, play the Foglit first, then play Pugo. Where is he? Here. Then play Pugo, and then play the Portal, or you can play the Foglits. In the first place you try to play the Foglits if you have him in hand generally, and then play the Pugo afterwards so you get the full value out of it and you don't bring your Portal, and then just play the Portal. When you don't have the Pugo, play the Foglit first, play the Griffin in it or the Cyclops in it so you thin out the Foglit. And then just the Portal. Petrus Filters, you can mulligan these in the first rounds, or you can just keep one of them, but certainly don't try to keep two. I think it's kinda not necessary. Just one is enough. Nobody, I won't say nobody, but not many people are running artifact removal, and you can also get away with your Monsart as a 9-point boosted card without it being removed. Then we have the Griffins. I already talked about this card, but to sum it up, you use it for your Foglets, for your Ancient Foglets, and you can use it on your Kikimor Warriors. You get the point of Foglet, for the point of Griffins. Cyclops gives us the option of removing high point cards with our Griffin or with our Bugo Boombreaker, or we can use the Goliath to throw him at your opponents. In the case that he is playing the deck that's hyperthins and has Tibor in it, it's totally worth it, I think, to throw it at something that has the body value of 9 or 10. Then we have the Violent Riders. These help us thin, but don't forget you need to have dominance. And then we have all the 4-pointers that are generally used with the portal, but you can also keep some of them in hand in the first round, so don't worry about drawing some of them, but definitely keep just one Foglet, and also keep at least one Foglet in your starting hand so you can thin them out before you play the portal. This is it for the deck guide or deck showdown. Hopefully you get the points, and I'm gonna talk about the rounds progression in my article, so be sure to check it out. It's down in the description, and it's gonna give you a better pull on this deck. And not to forget to say, you can play this deck even in ranked. I had quite a success with this deck, as you don't run too many engines that are too vulnerable to removal, but the main part is you need to thin. Keep that in mind to be able to win the matches, but you are able to thin a lot, so good luck and see you next time. And now let's go to the games.